So you should have some room at the bottom of your sheet here. You're going to take your ruler out. See how many times you can fit your ruler. If you could do 3, that's good. Hopefully you can do 3 ruler widths on top of each other below here. We're going to work with inches now. Okay, and we basically want to make a bar that has, let's say, 7 spaces. So we're going to go from 0 to 7. And you want to place it so that you could fit about 3 ruler widths. So actually, you know what? I might start from the bottom. Of the page like this. And I'm going to go from 0 to 7. And then mark every inch in between. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and I'm going to bump it just to use this as a line here. And then trace the top and then bring it back down. Okay, and then I'm going to do 2 more of these. Okay, the first one here, if you have room on the side of it anywhere, you're going to write that this is a tint. T-I-N-T. The next one is going to be a tone, or sorry, this will be tints with an S. This will be tones and shades. So the first one we're going to focus on is tints, and when you're tinting a color, you're lightening it with the addition of white. Okay, it doesn't matter what kind of paints you're using. Whenever you add white to an existing hue, it lightens it. Okay, so at this point, you could basically choose any color that is already in a tube. Okay, so I would recommend maybe a blue or a red. Maybe avoid the yellows. It's, again, difficult to stretch 7 values out of a color as light as yellow. You could do the green. There's a green watercolor straight out of the tube. Okay, do maybe more of a saturated color like these. I'm going to go ahead and use the red for the example. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to tint a color here. However, you can tint any color using this technique. So I'm going to go back to my clean well and I'm going to squeeze out some red. Okay, and then a couple wells over, I'm going to squeeze out some white. Again, about a pinky of each. So this, of course, is watercolor. We need to wet our brush just a touch and then bring it back in. So this is the color straight out of the tube. We'll talk about this tomorrow. This is called a saturated color. It's its most pure original self. Like, this is 100% a crimson red. It's not altered in any way. Okay, so we start off with a saturated color. And actually, maybe use the same color for all three. We could do the saturated red in all three, or if you want to switch colors as you go, you could do that as well. I'm going to continue with red for all three examples. So I might as well just do my first square of all of them. Okay, so again, straight out of the tube, unaltered red, with just a touch of water added to it to make it more runny. Normally I leave space between my charts, but you'll see the difference when we start mixing them with different things. And if it's too runny, just dry your brush off a little bit. Okay, so we've got 3 scales that we're about to fill. The first one here we're going to tint. Tint means to lighten the color with gradual amounts of white added to it. So we have our red here, and we're going to slowly alter it as we go. This is a lot of red actually, and it's going to take a lot of white to change it, and I don't want to waste my white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a scoop of that red out. Okay, take a scoop's worth of red out, and you're going to bring it over to the center well. Maybe 1 or 2 scoops at max. But you don't want a ton of this red because we're going to empty out the white tube trying to change it, and we can't afford that, okay? So scoop a little red over, rinse your brush off. That's actually one of the #1 mistakes my students make is they squeeze out all of this red, and they're like, they end up emptying the white tube trying to lighten it. And yeah, you don't want to be going out and buying an individual tube of white watercolor because that can get really expensive. Okay, so now that we've got our kind of manageable dollop of red to work with, we're going to slowly add white to it. If you feel like it got too light, you can bring some more of that red over. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's try it out. So it's hard to tell on the camera right now. Maybe if I turn the light off. That doesn't help either. I might just show you guys in person. Okay, but you should be able to see a difference if you squint at it. You should be able to see an obvious difference between the two. Okay, then I'm going to take more white and bring it in. If it feels like it's dry, just add a tiny touch of water to your brush. And it should be able to stretch it out. Remember, it's watercolor. Okay, and then I'm going to add more white. And more white. If you chose blue, blue is a nice one to tint as well. You get all of your different lighter shades of blue. Okay, and more white. At one point, you might even start mixing in the white well. When you want to get very pale. And the very, very last one, I'm going to take a teeny touch of white. And I'm going to wash my brush off. I'm going to see how light I could get. And I'm going to take some of that pale pink and put it into my white. It's going to be like a warm white. See how light you can take this. Or if you're working with blue, it's going to be like a really light sky blue. It should almost be an off-white. Okay, so whatever color you used, you went from a saturated version of that color and you desaturated that color by changing it from its original state and lightening it, okay? And the next one, we'll let this one dry, and the next one, I'm gonna teach you how to tone down a color, or in other words, make it duller. So here we made the color lighter with the addition of white. Here we're gonna dull it down with the addition of gray, okay? So I'll stop that and let you guys catch up.